Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special episode of Case Close. My name is Crypto Jones, your favorite YouTuber's favorite YouTuber, Crypto Solo, whatever you want to call me. Just don't call me Cynthia G's boyfriend. Anyway, today we got a special guest in the building. Special guest, go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Oh, I'm the special guest. Oh, look at me. Guess who's back? At least for this episode. What's good, everyone? This is the former co-host of Snowbunny Sundays, Xanatos Clutch. You all know me by now. But as of right now, we're going to have a semi-throwback to what we usually talking about, or we usually talk about in regards of black men leaving the community and just dealing with whoever they want.
Okay, who wants to introduce themselves next? Dr.
Y'all know
Thunder?
who I be. It's Ike. It's Ike. You want to tell him who you are next? Ramil.
Hey, what's going on? It's Ramil, and ready to chop it up, and let's get it.
All right, I'm Dr. Thunder. I'm a musician, professor, and a social commentator, and I'm here to chop it up on Case Closed. Let's go.
Hey guys, I'm Chancel Simone, and being the only female on the panel, I'm looking forward to this conversation. We're expecting it to be an extremely interesting conversation, so let's go.
Oh, wait, Chantel. Okay, so this is the first time I heard you talk. You're not a sister girl from the community?
What are you asking?
What?
I guess you just caught your
you
accent.
Where are you originally from? It's a compliment, by the way. Don't worry.
Oh, your accent. I'm Jamaican. My accent is Jamaican.
Okay, good stuff. All right, we'll be safe then. All right, good.
Do I need to hide my face on this episode?
Nah, you're good. You're good.
It might get
Chantel's not from the
chopped up
community.
at the
It's good.
It's not going to be that bad. As usual. I don't know, Soli, you want me to kick this off?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead, man.
All right. As we usually do, we keep things simple. We start them simple, and then we start complicating things, right? So we're talking about dating out. The title says black men should date out. Should black men date out? Whatever it says, something like that. I wanted to start with some two basic things, and then let's get our impressions in the panel. Maybe we'll go Xanatos, Ramil, Chantel, Dr. Thunder, and then Solo, because he requested to be last in the first go around. But there are two basic things. Again, we're going to start it simple. Number one, with any endeavor, whether it be business, okay, whether it be dating and mating, as we're talking about, whether it be getting a degree, right, you're going to pick the one whereby you have the most options, okay? Do I want to pick an engineering degree or a marketing degree? Okay, well, in the engineering field, there are more options, okay? It's more available and so on and so forth. So the basic thing is this. We can say this is an objective truth, and I want to see what you guys have to say about this, that in any endeavor, if you expand your horizons, expand your options, then you're improving the possibility of you getting satisfactory outcomes. So that's number one. Number two is this. The people who decide to stay within the particular confines, okay? Let's say they're like, okay, I'm over in this part of the Serengeti, even though the antelopes are leaving and there's a little bit of a famine or whatever it may be, or I don't like the particular antelopes over there. Maybe I want to go over to Asia and eat panda bears, whatever it may be, right? The people who stay within the confines, are they doing it for anything other than sentimental reasons? Okay, so number one, expanding your horizons is always a good way to increase the probability of satisfactory outcomes. And then number two, if you choose to keep your horizons confined, is there any reason other than sentimental ones for doing that? And let's start with Xanatos and go to Ramil.
So the question of dating out for brothers. Now, as everybody knows, on Snow Bunny Sundays, we beat this topic to death in regards of not only if brothers should date out, but how they should do it. And a lot of guys didn't listen. There are plenty of guys who obviously didn't listen or refused to listen or still believe in the BET uncut white picket fence wifey community dream. And with the latter group of individuals, we are seeing the results now more than ever of what they have to go through in order to keep the sister girls, as my man, one master teacher, likes to say, or as I like to say, or actually, Mad Bus Driver X likes to say, the Scraggle Daggle pleased. And just a disclaimer, not all ADOS BWs are sister girls, Scraggle Daggles, whatever you want to call them. And I know Solo TV84 just muted himself because he is reacting, and Chantel as well. They are reacting in the way in which I would expect. But nonetheless, you are seeing, and we all are seeing what's happening right now with brothers who intentionally keep their options limited, particularly in how the women they keep their options limited to are basically just at best being debatably uncooperative with them, and at worst, being outright hostile. Competition breeds results. And in the dating market, an open, true open dating market obviously brings best results because now we're seeing the results of what happens when the dating market is closed, whether it's externally or, in the case of what we see with a lot of others, internally. So, as far as the question and the answer, I think you know where I stand. It's just a matter of us now having the evidence of seeing what happens when the market is limited. With all these guys talking to these uncooperative women saying, "Oh, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that?" This pleading, begging, negotiating, and in a lot of cases, simping or just outright just self neutering of these guys' egos and pride. And it's rather pathetic. So we all know, well, you all know where I stand, but I like to hear what the others would like to say.
All right, Ramil. You heard the thing. Expanding your options, always a good thing. If you stay, are you staying for more than sentimental reasons?
Okay, so I don't think expanding your options is always a good thing. I'm not against it, but sometimes what I'm first of all, I think black men should date whoever they want. All right, but my thing is, it seems that no matter who black men dates, we still cannot change our economic and political position. All right, so I will say, women of other races seem to treat black men better. That's a fact. But at the end of the day, when you bring it back to America and there's feminism in play, you're going to get ran over just the same. These white females taking brothers to court, cleaning them out, i.e. Dr. Dre. The Latinos doing the same thing. And if the end goal is just to date, just dating, I think black men, yes, will have an easier time dating other races, but at the end of the day, it's going to lead to the same results because black men don't have power. Me personally, I've dated out. Well, I don't use the word date. You know, I pump it down. I've dealt with women of all different races. And yes, women of other races do give me an easier time, but at the end of the day, it's trade-offs that come with that. I like black women. I like American black women. I like the way their skin texture feels. I like the they freakier, you know what I'm saying? And they also give me the same good time. I don't necessarily have a problem because when they act up, I tell them to get the fuck out. You know what I mean? Now, once again, I'm not against black men dating whoever they want to date, but I don't want to put the fantasy out that, okay, you get a woman of another race, your life is going to be easier. Because at the end of the day, a woman's not going to have anything to do with where you're at in life financially, where you're at spiritually, where you're at physically, where you're at mentally. So yes, once again, I do think dating out does give black men an easier time on certain levels, but I don't think it's to the point where, you know, it's going to create a whole change. So, I mean, that's why I'm at with. I'll start with that, and then we can come back later.
All right, Chantel, you're the only woman in the panel, so you can take your time here to answer this first two basic questions which you've already heard. Go ahead.
To answer the question straightforward, I think men should date whoever they want to date. Unfortunately, though, we do live in a society where men are shamed for choosing to date out. However, it seems as though black women, and I'm not American, I'm Jamaican. So I'm not trying to attack Ada's black women. The same thing happens in my culture. We see the same divide in my culture and the same entitlement. So when I say black women, I'm talking about us all, immigrants and all. They do shame men for dating out, saying because you can't handle black women, they have to settle for a non-black woman. I think that's detrimental, because then that's saying for black women who refuse to become what black men want, cooperative, fit, feminine, you're saying, oh, don't settle for us, and if you choose not to settle for us and go outside, then we're going to shame you and say it's because you can't handle us. I encourage black women to go for who goes for you, and date people who respect you, date people who want to become better for you and who would want to allow you to lead. To Ramil's point, I do agree that a lot of times we have to probably look within. So maybe your solution to your undesirable dating pattern as men isn't who you're dating, if you're dating black woman or white woman or Asian woman, but it's you. So maybe there's some work that you have to do to attract better. But if we're going to keep this general and we're going to keep it, should black men date out? 100% black men should date out. That's my take on that.
100%. Dr. Thunder, and then Solo.
All right. So, hello again, everybody. You know, I'm more IBMore than I am SYSBM. And if you don't know what those acronyms stand for, IBMore is Introspective Black Men of Reform, and SYSBM is Save Yourself Black Man. Save Yourself Black Man is referring to basically deciding to cut the cord and date out as much as possible. That we've sustained enough punishment, enough beatings, and it's time for us to go to greener pastures. Ibmore seems to look more at what are the issues that are creating, the problems that we have. I'll admit that I probably would not have dated white girls if it was not for experiences that I had with black girls. The first girl I really, wanted to date, my first love, whatever you want to call it. She chose she chose swag over substance. And since I was trying to actually be something, I was on the substance side. And so I dated a white girl. I actually I went to a different school district so I'd have more access to black girls. And
in high school, you moved for black.
Yeah, I actually went to a different high school for my senior year so I'd have more access to black girls, and still ended up dating a white girl. And that was because of the sort of nuclear rejections that I sustained, one after another. And then when folks saw that I was dating a white girl, I did some concerts and things at the high school I went to. And I remember seeing on one of the posters promoting one of my concerts, someone had written, sell out and all that kind of stuff. And of course it was because they were upset because I was dating a white girl. Well, if you weren't, rejecting a brother, then that wouldn't have been the case. So that is the case. But another thing that is the case is that, and Xanatos said this, not all black women are that way. Now, I think that maybe a disproportionate number of them are, and they certainly get all the press. But, I'm married to a black woman, and she's fit, feminine, friendly, cooperative, submissive. She didn't have a kid before we got married. So they exist. It's just, you might have to look unusual places to find them.
Dr. Donor, quick question.
Sure.
The black woman that you're married to, is she foundational Black American or a non-foundational Black American, such as Chantel?
No, she's ADOS.
Oh, really?
No.
I did
Yeah,
not
they
know that.
exist.
I didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it's possible. It's just you. It's now granted, the, I'll be honest. If I was dating these days, if I was not married, first of all, I don't think I would get married because the I think the available stock is so low, um, and that's all kinds of women. I just don't think that I would be able to find something uh, comparable to what I have. Um, but uh, but even if I did, I don't know. Maybe dating out would be a thing. But you know, it's like kind of a roll of the dice. I'm in my second marriage. The first one wasn't so good, and that woman was ate us too. Mm,
Ah,
as well.
Solo.
Look at Ike laughing. Like I think I'm gonna say something crazy, man. Well, Ike, I'm gonna do this just for you, bro, because I know you've been waiting for it. So here you go, Ike. New Pog, right? The way I look at dating out is very simply. I don't look at a person's skin color. I go with like Xandos always used to say, where you celebrate it, not tolerate it. So I'm not gonna pick a white woman just because she's white. You know what I'm saying? Number two, dating out, there are trade offs, like Ramil said. Obviously, when, coming up, black women have always been my preference. I've made no secret of that. I still date black women. However, where I live, it's not a secret. I live in the Midwest, way up north. It's very difficult to find quality black women because they're few and far between. And so dating out is one of those things that if you want to be with somebody who fits your criteria of what you're looking for in a woman, which I look for women that are cooperative, feminine, submissive, and open-minded, intelligent, etc. That's going to be very difficult to do. So the reality is, for most men, it's there's a myth that, oh well, if you go with white women it's all going to be good. No, I mean, I can tell you straight up, I live in one of the most feminist cities in all of America, and some of these white women are more entitled than even black women are because of feminism, their belief in entitlement. And so the reality is, as black men, period, the dating market can be very treacherous, and you have to realize we live in an environment now where a lot of women don't know their role, period. And so if you find one that happens to be a different skin tone than you, as long as it's based on the merit of you with the person because you truly want to be with them, not based off, some sort of a personal vendetta that I've seen on YouTube, where certain people are always talking about it, but you never see no receipts. You never see these dudes with no pogs, nothing like that. It's just a bunch of rhetoric, and then they still talking about black women. I mean, at the end of the day, if you really dating out, then you should be happy doing so. If not, then it is what it is. But me personally, I date whoever fits my criteria, and if it happens to be white, then so be it. And that's all I got to say. Peace.
All right, all right, all right, all right. So, this guy. Now, a lot of things have been put on the table, and I think that we've established that, hey, generally speaking, we don't have any issues with the idea, even though Ramil said, hey, that it's not necessarily true, and we know that nothing is ever 100%. It's not necessarily true that expanding your options is going to necessarily lead to better outcomes. One could argue that feminism expanded women's options, and this options led to too many options, and paralysis by analysis, can't make up stuff, things got watered down, blah, 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 don't know what to do, F everything up, right? That kind of thing. But since everybody has kind of been saying, their personal situations slash history. Now, I grew up in Nigeria, right? Came over to the United States when I was 17 and a half. So dealt with some Nigerian women before I came over here. And then when I came over here, I was like, oh, look at there. There's a Mexican over there. I'm like, okay, so I dated Mexicans, I dated Asians, I've dated ADOS women as well, right? I dated ADOS women as well. And now I'm married. I'm married to a woman from Ghana, right? I ran all the way back to the motherland and got married to a woman in Ghana. Now, why is that funny, Dr. Thunder? Come on now. Now, so the thing about it is this. We're going to get to the part about the shaming and also the simping, okay? The two S's. That's how I'm going to remember, okay? Because Ramil brought up the simping, okay? Ramil brought up the fact that some people think that, oh, if I just go over here, I'm going to go to Brazil. And it's like, no, 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 no. Like, probably 90% of you guys are out there simping still in Brazil. Simping, tricking, low-level tricking, too. I have no problems with tricking, but that kind of low-level BS. And you mentioned the political power and the socioeconomic standing. And also, Chantel pointed to that, hey, maybe there's something you need to do internally to solve your problems as opposed to thinking that it's going to be solved externally. So we'll get to that point. But to the point of internal versus external thing, there's some people whom give the pushback. Remember we asked, is it all just sentimental, right? Are you going to stay in your, impoverished set of choices, right? Are you going to stay in a land where famine is coming through and the antelopes have left? The only reason you're staying, isn't that just because of sentimental reasons? What do they say? What do we hear them say? They say, it's for the culture, right? I'm sure you guys have heard that one, right? So now I'm going to state what I think when I hear that stuff. And then we're going to start again from Xanatos and go there because I'm sure Xanatos has heard something about the culture and the community. One particular thing that I would say in terms of giving people credence is that there is a personality type that loves, okay? The opposite of Dr. Thunder, for example, right? Or the opposite of Ramil. These people live externally, right? They're extrinsically motivated. They're very sentimental, in other words, right? They have this idea of a shared space and shared experience up to the point of even shared color. But the fact is, culture has nothing to do with color, okay? Culture is a set of practices, principles, ways of living, which get passed down from generation to generation. And you can pass it down from generation to generation regardless of how tall they are, how short they are, or what color they are. So culture, in my view, is not a valid pushback whatsoever, right? And I would like to know what do you think about that, Xanatos? I'm sure you've gotten that pushback. Again, I'm saying there is a personality type, which we've all agreed, each person should do what they can and what they want. If you're that kind of extrinsically motivated, very extroverted feeling type person whom is not into certain unique ideas and unique feelings and unique experiences of their own, but wants to continue what they feel is they like that warm feeling by the fire and want to be like, oh yeah, my grandmother, my great grandmother, and we all are. Sure, that's fine. But don't say it's culture because that's just sentimentality. What do you have to say about the culture pushback, Xanatos, and then we'll go to Ramil, go around again.
Okay, sentimental reasons. All right. Let's sit on the sentimental reason. Look, I don't want to hear the sentimental excuse. That's all it is. It's a freaking excuse because you want to talk about the culture. I need a woman who needs to match my culture in my community. Oh, the culture you getting your ass whooped by mama every single time you question why the sky's blue? That culture? The culture where your girls around the way or even your female family members mouth you out because you didn't do what they said or you didn't do what they want? That culture? Hold on. The same culture where you had to either play LARP as a thug or thuggo or man and little twin or just a bomb in order to even get some respect from the sisterhood? That culture? Is that the sentiment we're talking about? Or is this made up pseudo sentiment of the life you wish you lived? Because from my observations, a lot of what I see within the culture isn't worth saving. It's not worth preserving, and it hasn't been worth preserving for the past 30 years. Okay, well, so let's go on to more tangible things. Like, all right, for instance, I know a lot of guys in the community side, they need a sister. They need a sister who knows how to throw down and cook, right? Cook what? Cook chitlins? Cook fried stuff? Cook everything under the sun that it decreases the life expectancy, especially of black men. And that's taking away the external elements of what we face with in this country. I heard one of these dozers talking about some, man, I can't get with Jessica X because, I can't teach her how to cook stuff. I can't teach her how to do all this other stuff that we do. That's the reason I can't get with a Jamaican or Nigerian. I need a real sister. Same sisters who barely want to cook for themselves half the time, especially with this generation. The real reason is this. All right, at least in my opinion, it comes down to two things, right? One, these guys feel sorry for not dealing with someone who's like their mama. They need that mama influence, or that female from around the way who more likely either rejected them or gave him a hard time, even if she got with him or had to have him do all this wannabe thug stuff in order to get some respect or a sniff of the new of the you know what. It's either that or these guys, and I'm going to say this for the umpteenth time, these guys don't have any other options but to date with the ABW sister girl. They can't even get a decent chick that, let's say, Dr. Thunder's married to, an Ados or 9 Ados. They don't have options, especially when it comes to dating outside the race or dating non-Ados BWs, intercultural date, as Edward Anderson likes to say. But yeah, these guys don't have options because if they did, any reasonable man would take them, even if they wanted black kids.
Mama and no options. Ramil, what you got to say to the culture pushback? Because again, I said, hey, we've all agreed that personally you do you, and that there's a group of people who like that. I like to call it like a warm porridge. They like to swim in this warm porridge of other people's feelings and BS. Like I'm a very introverted type of guy, and I'm disgusted by all that kind of crap. But I understand, hey, those are their personalities. But then they say, hey, it's not just my personality. How about the culture? What you got to say about the culture, Ramil?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Xanatos a lot of what he said. I don't follow that. Like I said, I like dealing with black women just because I just like their body shape better. They're more freakier and all the other stuff. But as far as the culture, I know it's done. We don't have any culture. We don't have any sort of business acumen. We don't have any sort of. There's no community mindset. So I'm just enjoying the ride on the way down. To me, pussy's pussy. Like I mean, like, because I treat it all the same way. Like, I'm not really. Like I said, I'm probably the only one on this panel who really deals with women from an arm's length. I don't do relationships. I don't do marriage. I don't do any of that. So at the end of the day, it's all the same to me. But I do not believe in that culture BS, because at the end of the day, there is no culture. And I'm just riding the wave on the way down. I don't believe in any of the sentimental things. I'm past all of that. But I like what I like. You know what I mean? I can't help it. You know, but and so I've dealt with women of other races. And since I am about that pump and dump life, you know, they all get treated the same to me. And when I do deal with the black women, because I don't take that, like, this is the reason why I had to chill too. Because Xanatos was right again. You know, a lot of black men are taking the verbal beatings, the even physical sometimes, just to be with the woman. See, and they keep on complaining, oh, when is it going to stop? When is it going to stop? See, I tell them to get the fuck, I tell them to leave. I tell them to go. As soon as they start getting the attitude, you got to go. Like, I don't even deal with that type of stuff. This is why I had to chill on a lot of that stuff, because I don't have any complaints. When a woman gets loud with me, or if she ever gets any of that stuff, get out the door. That's why, you know, it's important for men to have their own stuff, have their stuff together, so that you won't have to create any attachments and be dependent on this one woman for your needs. We can just trade her out. You know what I mean? So I definitely are going to have to agree with that, man.
Ramil, do you want to respond to that comment?
What's it say? It says, Ramir's a liar. Just a few months ago, he was all talk about black women are this. They are. But this is not that type of show. If you really want me to go into it, this is why they get pumped and dumped. I'm not changing my story. They still get pumped and dumped. The difference is I don't deal with that behavior. When the behavior that these guys are complaining about, when they start acting up, when they start doing all that other stuff, you just get the fuck out. You know, I got too much stuff to do. Black women ain't shit. That's what you want to hear, because that's the truth. They ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? But that's just that because I value my time so much, as soon as I get what I want from them, you get the fuck out. It's as simple as that. It's the same story. I just value my time more to the point where I don't have time to talk about the shit. We already did what we did. Cool. Get the fuck out. And you can go take that attitude to the beta dude that you're going to complain about after you get this dick.
Hey, Chantel, what you got for us?
I'm I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So the question basically
Oh,
is
it
this,
was culture.
yeah, the culture too, and perhaps you could say about your personality too. Are you one of these kind of more extroverted feeling types where you like the whole idea of a sentimental belonging? And because we know there's some people who are not like that at all. I'm an example of one of them. Ramil definitely is an example. But where do you fall in that spectrum? And also, what do you think about the culture pushback?
So let me address the culture pushback because I can relate to it. I mean, being I'm sorry, Ramil said a lot. I'm still trying to process what he just said. But being an immigrant, I am attached to my culture. I value my culture, and for the longest, I've only dated Jamaican men just because I want to keep my culture alive. And I mean, I speak about this a lot on my personal channel, but I did lose a lot of family members a couple years ago. So in America, so I'm the only one and a few cousins I have left that represents my culture. For me, so for the longest, I wanted to marry a Jamaican man to keep my culture alive. But then moving to Dallas and not having a lot of options in Jamaican men, it made me realize, okay, I mean, maybe need to let go of that piece. And maybe men need to do that too. If your only reason to dating African American woman is to keep your culture alive and to, the cooking and the food and whatever, but you are trying to date and you're not getting any benefit from it, maybe it's time to let go off of that and focus. Because for me, dating a man that is reliable, assertive, a masculine man is more important than dating a feminine energy Jamaican man, if that makes sense. So the like dating an American or a non-black masculine man is more important than dating a Jamaican feminine man. So you have to weigh your pros and cons and see where what's more important. But this conversation is very different to say the least than what we've had in the past, and I'm listening to y'all perspective, and I'm learning a lot.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Now, Dr. Thunder or Solo, you want to go ahead and read this, or you want me to give the round of applause? What you want me to
I
do
mean,
over
you
here?
can read it. That's why, because I know you got something to say. So, but I'll read it. Shout out to Ray Arthur. He says the same culture that will call the cops on you, but always say a pod will do that. I'll definitely address that on my end.
Indeed.
But
Now,
Dr.
Dr. Thunder, before I want to kind of because we're talking about the culture thing. Xanatos Clutch said, "What culture? The culture of fried chitlins and this and that and the other, so on and so forth." Well, so let's take a step back and say there is perhaps something salvageable or worth salvaging about the quote unquote culture. Still, there is the point of, does it take a black woman to do the culture thing, or is it just you trying to be around something that is like your mama, as Xanatos put it? In other words, if you're really saying, hey, there is a culture out there and there's something that I would like to save about that culture, what does it have to do with the color of the person you're with? Can you not teach? And then, because it's about your offspring, right? At this point, can you not pass on to your offspring whatever it is you think that the culture is?
Or do you want to even save the culture that values swag over substance, as you said, Doctor?
Right. So I had to since Ramil promoted his own song
man.
a couple times.
Pump and dump and these, pump and dump and these. You know how hey, that dance that Drake stole.
I'm still pissed. He owe me a check, man. Drake owe me a check, man. Yeah.
So anyhow, yeah, the culture thing is interesting. Now, of course, we've mentioned a lot of negative aspects of black culture. There's a lot of positive aspects of it too. I mean, I'm a musician, and there's not been a culture that has had the kind of profound impact on the music industry like the black community. And I mean, it's not even close. I mean, it's like all forms of popular music around the world have been irreversibly impacted by church that originated in the black church. And then as it became more mainstream, you see it in jazz, blues, R&B, hip hop, um, and then the way that those styles of music have influenced even classical composers. You can't get the genie back in the bottle. That influences out in the ether. Of course, we've been very much ripped off for our music, um, uh, and haven't benefited as much as we should because of some of these other, I think, negative aspects of our culture. Um, like our culture, we don't tend to document stuff like we should, and because of that, other cultures, like say for instance, Jewish culture, they're all about documentation, right? And so, if Jews were responsible for, all of this music that black folks had created, it would be a totally different sort of dynamic. So, having said that, there are a lot of, I think, positive things about our culture. I think, though, because of the 80% out of wedlock births, uh, it tends to make a lot of the negative stuff even worse. If any, it's not just because we're black, and it's not just because of the sort of values that black people tend to have. We tend to be actually pretty conservative, but actually, what it is that with the fathers missing from the homes, for whatever reason, I'm not faulting the dads that are getting pushed out and are being alienated from their families. That's not what I'm talking about. But fathers missing, that's, I was talking to a buddy of mine earlier, well, yesterday actually, and we were talking about the whole single parent issue. See, in our community, most of the single parents are single mothers. Actually, the statistics show that if you're going to have a single parent, it would be better that it was a father. And it's not just because of financial issues, because men tend to make more money. It's not just financial. It's structure. It's discipline. It's all of that stuff. And you can't feel your way through certain problems. You need structure and discipline to get through those problems. So I think women suffer probably the worst from not having their dads around. I mean, and you can see it. You can see it, and that's why we're talking about straggle daggles and all of this, and that's because they didn't get a good example. They didn't get that balanced discipline and structure. And now, is that going to change? Is that going to get better? Probably not. It's probably going to get worse. And is that a reason for the quality black men to say, you know what, I'm going to stick around and hope that I get, one of the few, that are going to be compatible? I don't know. I think you have to do that on case by case.
Before I say my piece and then go over to the simping and all of that other stuff and the shaming, I would say that you avoided the question, Dr. Thunder, in the sense that, hey,
what I do.
I know, but I'm gonna see here to see if I can get you to answer it. Basically, if you're saying that there are things that are worth salvaging about the culture, and you mentioned some of them, and you seem to be interested in it, right? Now,
Yep.
What does this have to do with whether or not you have some light brown babies and pass on that culture and talk about Miles Davis and the black church and all that kind of stuff? You go all the way back to Africa and the drumming and all that kind of stuff. What does it have to do with you being with a black woman? Because I think that whole there's a sentimental aspect of like, oh, they say culture, but they just mean I want to be around somebody who looks like my mom, perhaps, like Xanatos is saying. I'm not the one that's saying all this. I'm just saying, look, can we answer the question about how would you, for example, Dr. Thunder, possibly perpetuate a culture that is the African American culture and that impresses upon your children the things that are important to you about that culture? Does that have anything to do with the color of the woman that you're with? Besides the fact that, hey, let's say you find a cultured African American woman, then you have somebody that's fighting half the battle for you. Or, I'm
Right.
already kind of helping you to kind of move in that direction of how perhaps giving some weight to this. Is there something, okay, that is necessary when it comes to propagating the culture? Is there something that's necessary about having that particular skin tone or not?
So what you're saying is if I had a what if I had a
Take the
Dolezal
Jews for
wife?
example. I'm saying that, hey, they came from Jerusalem, okay, or don't. And for those of regardless of the whole Jewish story, right? They
Mm.
took their book and they spread it all over the world, okay. It has nothing to do with they were not like, oh, it's like, no, it's like they dominated the whole world with those set of books, okay. So if we're talking culture, what the hell does it really have to do with color?
Yeah. So I mean, I would agree with your and the thing is that black folks come in a lot of different shades. Um, and so I have three siblings, and two of us are about my complexion, and two of us are lighter than me. And my father is about my complexion or a little darker than I am, and my mother's lighter than I am. So that's a pretty common thing. So I don't know that the skin color uh, is the issue. I think that if you marry someone that comes from a culture that the impact on them is pretty transparent, or almost like non-existent, like it's just sort of vanilla, then I think that you can likely have a certain kind of impact on impressing certain cultural values that you want to continue. Virtually all of my mixed friends, they don't tend to have the same. Um, it's a mixture. I mean, it's a mixture of values. I mean, so like if their mother is Italian, and their dad is African American, then the tendency is for them to have a mixed sort of thing, because although the way that we think about this is that if you have one drop of black in you, then you're black, but that's not actually the way that it works. Maybe that's the way that certain folks talk about it because I don't know. There's a fear that you're not going to be able to find where you fit in or something. So it's like, well, you just accept that you're black then. So then we'll take you, kind of a thing. Whereas I don't really get the sense that white folks. Uh, I'm sure you can find maybe a handful of them, in the whole world that would be this way. But I don't really get the sense that white folks really care about that kind of stuff. I get the sense that they tend to evaluate things on a case by case sort of basis, as far as you fitting in and you finding your way and all that kind of stuff. I think there's other factors, systemic issues that sort of block certain groups out. But as far as on an individual basis, I don't think that that's the case. So there's not really any need to do that.
Hmm.
Um, but no, in general, no, I don't think that skin color really matters. But I also don't think that if say for instance I was married to Rachel Dolezal, that um, does anybody know who Rachel Dolezal is? It's the white woman that was acting like she was black.
Yes.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, she has certain, she was upholding certain standards and was, carrying the water of black folks in general and all of this. So I don't know. Maybe that would have been, I don't know. It's a complex issue.
Okay, okay, okay. So there may be some biracial people whom are of that extroverted feeling type, the kind of people who like nice little cocoons of feeling like they belong, right? And it makes me want to throw up a little bit. Belong to what? Get the hell out of here, right? I know I'm in the minority. Don't get me wrong. I'm not. Look, I'm in the minority in this kind of personality type stuff. But still, it doesn't stop me from feeling disgusted by the rest of y'all.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead and say some things before we get to the shaming and the simping, and then we're going to start landing the plane here because we got to get to the shaming and the simping. But one thing that culture really is that it is invisible. Because here's what I noticed as a Nigerian, as an African, coming in and dealing with an ADOS woman, with a few ADOS women. I noticed that in the ADOS community, there's a lot of talk about culture. And it don't get me wrong, ladies and gentlemen, when I say this, but it helped me. I couldn't help but wonder: is it the case that people whom have a culture that's kind of broken tend to talk about it more? In other words, Nigerians don't sit around
That's a
talking
good point.
about culture. Culture is like the water you swim in. You don't notice it. It's just you're just Nigerian, right? So there was the idea of, oh, can you pass? Want to like I was supposed to take her to this kind of cultural events or something, or kind of pass on some of this Nigerianness. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just Nigerian. You know what I mean? It's just if it's correct, it should be seamless and unseen. I think that we understand this particular kind of, shall we say, conceptualization or intuition that I just gave. If you got to talk about it when it comes to something like culture, then there's something wrong, right? Because it's just the milieu, the soup, what you're cooked in, and you come out that way. So the reason that I say that is to say this: culture is something that helps. It's like a shorthand for trust. Okay. In other words, when I see another Nigerian, because I've thought about this a couple of times. I'm like, what exactly is it? Because we don't talk about Nigerian culture, but when I see another Nigerian, there's some assumptions that I can make. In other words, it's like stereotyping. It's like, I know they're gonna be about that money. I know they're gonna be willing to break some rules. And I'm like, yes. My nigga, right? I know that they're gonna be about, like, Nigerians don't play by anybody's rules. And yes, that's what we are, that's how we roll. Doesn't mean that we're all scammers and thieves. A lot of us are, right? But the point is, we know, and it's not something that we have to have meetings about. It's not something that we have to go to particular concerts or do whatever about. It's just that you have particular structures that perpetuate themselves, and on and on and on. In other words, a sign of a defunct or broken culture is the fact that you're always talking about culture. So the people who say, well, I'm doing it for the culture, that's not how culture works. Okay, you simply just are who you are. Okay, now let's start talking a little bit about the shame aspect. The shame aspect, we get it. Okay, women want to keep their playpen filled with a supply of men that they can choose at their whim, because Dr. Thunder was said it. They said, hey, you, Dr. Thunder, you're an educated lame. You speak too proper. Okay, I need the guy with the swag, but I want you to stay in the pen. Okay, don't leave the pen. Later we'll come for you. Okay, we'll come for you later, maybe when we're done, and maybe we have one or two baby daddies by the swag guy, and then now you're a PhD and a tenured professor, in a big university. Yes, now we're
With
going.
the
Hey,
420.
hey, big head.
Right, with the 420 bench press.
Hey, with a 420 bench press. Yeah, you can't forget that. Now it's
Sure.
hey, Dr. Thunder, right? So we get that thing. It's just political power games, right? We're not even going to explore that one. There's a reason why they're doing it. It's low level shame, insult, guilt. They need to be right. But let's talk about the simping thing. And we'll start with Xanatos Clutch, because indeed it dovetails with what you talked about, in the sense that, number one, they don't have options. I'm sorry, Solo. I'm sorry. We'll go to you, Solo, to give your thoughts about the culture thing before we go to Xanatos. I'm sorry, but Xanatos, we're going to go to that whole shaming and simping thing. People not having options. People talking about no mama stuff, and then people thinking that when they go outside, all of a sudden things are good. The grass is going to be greener when you're still just a BAN bitch ass nigga. Anyways, Solo, take.
I mean, when you have a culture, right, where, and it'll go into the shaming thing a bit, but when you have a culture that, basically vilifies the so-called educated lame and glorifies the street guy, then your culture is already ass backwards. And we see this time and time again, on various different YouTube platforms or in social media, and as well as real life, where this culture is glorifying the wrong things. And when you start to look at that and see where, as Dr. Thunder, and he brought up a really valid point, where the family dynamic now has shifted to the point where single mother households are now considered the norm and people are anti marriage, what type of culture then are you really pushing? Because now it's destabilized in the sense that it's become the norm, and that's scary. So I really don't have much to add to that. I think that Dr. Thunder did a good job, as well as you, Ike, and Clutch. And um, I got an Amazon package coming. So yeah, Ike, take it away.
No problem, no problem, no problem. And there are a couple of things that are being said in the chat that are true, especially about what I just said. Like in Nigeria, the idea is, I see an Igbo guy, for example, because it's about tribes too. I see a name. I'm like, this guy's name is Uche. Okay, that's from that particular tribe. I know, therefore, shorthand what I can expect. And to the whole point of being practical, Dr. Thunder, you were saying that it's about structure in terms of men having a structure. When it comes to the practical, shall we say, benefits of culture, it's about this shorthand by which things can, it removes friction from transactions. People talk about the black dollar, not, only spending 6 hours within the community. The reason, I would argue, partially has to do with the fact that there is no kind of shorthand that, says, hey, that's that other black person over there. I can trust X, Y, or Z about them. Therefore, I'm going to be able to transact, right? So it's almost like when it's functioning, you don't think about it. I'm just like, that's an Igbo guy over there. I know what to expect from him. That's a Hausa guy over there. I know what to expect from him, generally speaking, right? So culture, and this removes all the friction from the transaction, because otherwise now you got to vet them, you got to think about it, and so on and so forth, right? And that's, by the way, why I'm thinking of a website, right, that's going to vet black businesses. Okay, why am I doing this? I'm doing it for money. I'm a Nigerian, all right? Okay. I ain't doing this for the community, okay? The idea is this. Just think about like Yelp or so on and so forth. Let's say so that you have, and I don't want to dwell on this. I want to get to you, Xanatos, Clutch, about the shaming and the simping. But basically, if you have a system whereby, just like Yelp, you have a system where we're like, okay, Dr. Thunder, what's your specialty? What do you do? We can vet you and bring you in. That's one level of vetting. But then there's also a rating, just like Amazon or whomever else, right? And then they rate you so that when you go there, if you're the type of community person, because more people are community type people than myself, okay? So that's where the money's going to come from. They want to go for black businesses, but they don't want to just go for this whole BS about, talk black, go black businesses, but the black barber never shows up on time, right? It says on Google, hey, he's open at 10 a.m. Is he there at 10 a.m.? Huh? Is he ever there at 10 a.m.? No, right? You go to the black restaurant, the menu is supposed to have, they never have, we know the stories, right? So the idea is this, you can go to some website and it says, hey, this particular person is vetted, 5 stars, both ranked by the people who run the website, and also you can see their ratings from the users, right? So that these people can be trusted and you can build that network. This is a way of kind of substituting what culture should have. Because in other cultures, when the Arab guy lands in the news spot and he sees another Arab guy, it's almost like Yelp. The face tells him, okay, like that's somebody that I can expect certain things from. But when the culture is broken, you're not going to be able to do that transaction because the frictionlessness that culture affords is not there. But anyways, let's get to the shaming and the simping. We know about what the shaming is. Now, is there a solution for those simps, Xanatos, that are in the community, do not have any other options, as you said, or are all about mama, as you put it, right? What exactly, I want you to speak on it broadly. You can come in from a solutions aspect. You can continue to roast them if you want, right? We'll start with Xanatos. We'll go to Ramil. We'll go from there.
All right. So as far as the guys who are simping, to be honest, in a way, I sort of want them to stay in the community and only deal with the attitude and all that stuff. Because you know why? These are the same guys who, I'm not going to say they're the most dead or the biggest or the most draining of dead weight, but these guys, as Chantel stated earlier, are the kind of guys who need to fix something in here, and in a lot of cases externally as well, before they should even consider dating outside the community, whether it's with a non-ABW or a non-BW altogether. A lot of these guys who go on the simping route and the tricking route, yeah, these guys, one, they don't know what femininity is in general, and a lot of that is just due to them. I'm just going to say this: having mediocre moms at best, moms who probably didn't want them in the first place, or moms who birthed kids from the so-called cleanup men that they didn't want, or if they had a kid from a, communitized select kind of guy, he's no longer there, so she has the stepdaddy route or the single mother route. Nonetheless, these are individuals who were not wanted to begin with, or weren't wanted to the degree that non-black women usually plan their kids out for. And as a result, a lot of these guys keep seeking the validation of their mother throughout their entire lives. This is one of the main reasons why a lot of guys simp the way they do. Second, back to the options piece. A lot of these guys, they don't see themselves as worth anything unless they simp, which is the reason why they throw away their pride and their dignity in order to do the most when it comes to simping. And alongside that, a lot of these guys wouldn't know what femininity is if it slapped them in the ass. So, as far as that's concerned, uh, simping in this case is just a matter of guys not recognizing what femininity is, or if they do recognize it, they don't recognize on how to gain femininity, whether it's through hard work externally at the gym, or hard work internally by changing their mind, or just going through whatever they need to do in order to become the men that women genuinely desire. Because when you become a man who women genuinely desire, even if it's women outside the race, you realize that you don't have to simp for those who don't want you. You stick with who celebrates you instead of those who tolerate you.
Ramil and then Chantel. All this simping that's going on, and the people going out there thinking that something is going to change if they go to, let's say, I notice that they skip Africa all the time. They always want to go to the place where it's easy tricking. They want to go to Brazil and DR and so on and so forth, and it's still kind of very communita-like. Okay, I'm going to come for these passport bros of a particular kind, right? They never are like, oh, I want to go to a place where, okay, when I go there, the dad is gonna look at me like, "What's your substance?" Right? Right? I want to go for a place where it actually has culture and traditions, and where I actually got to show up with, something to show. Presumably, if you just want to go pumping and dumping and tricking and so, not tricking, but let's say pumping and dumping and just having a good time, that's a different thing. But these people say they want family, they want culture, they want tradition, they want a natural feminine woman to pass on their legacy, so on and so forth. And it's like, okay, well, do you know what that looks like? Do you know what it takes? Do you know the kind of vetting that goes on? $30,000 for a virgin in Ghana. True story. But anyways, Ramil, what you got to say about these brothers and the fact that they think they just step outside the neighborhood and all of a sudden they're not going to be simps anymore?
I just don't think it's no saving them. I mean, but I would tell them, look, just stop caring so much. Go ahead, do what you do. A lot of times a lot of things I noticed that these brothers need to self-improve first, man. The reason why they're simping because they feel as though they can't do anything in their current status, man. Self-improve and realize you got all the options you want if you get right financially, get right physically. Keep always leveling up. But I'm gonna have to agree with Xanatos again, like. A lot of the simping, man. I mean, let them be where they at, man. Because at the end of the day, they gonna get in my way if they try to do all this other stuff, man. And there's a hierarchy, you know what I mean. And I learned that you can't get in the way of a trick and a hoe. You gotta let it happen. So let them destroy themselves, trying to simp for whatever. I'm gonna continue on trying to level up to the best of my ability. But you can't do nothing for them, man. So that's where I'm at with it, man. I'm just leaving them where they at. You know, if they want to simp, because like I said, I like dealing with black women, but I would never that simping stuff. Or you a queen, all the other stuff. No, you gonna get pumped to dump just like every other female, and we're gonna go to the next. You know, and then you can go talk about the how I did you wrong, what quote unquote did you wrong, to the next dude who's gonna send for you. That's what I'm at with. I can't reason with him no more. I can't do it no more.
All right, Chantel. All right, Chantel. You've heard a lot that was said by Xanatos, for example, about the people being birthed in a situation where they were not wanted. Okay, they were not
Mm-hmm.
wanted. It was a mistake. They were
Mm-hmm.
birthed, or you're birthed by two. They got pregnant by the cleanup guy. I never thought about that angle before, and they don't really want this baby and all that kind of stuff. Also, they were raised by single moms. They don't know what masculinity is or what femininity is. So, what I'm saying, Chantel, is are black men simps? Go ahead, tell us.
I would not say black men are sims, not all, but there are a lot of sims out here. I call them feminine energy men. At the end of the day, a woman does not want a simp. She does not want a feminine energy man, no matter what they say. We discussed last week. Don't believe what a woman say. Just do you. I think, for my personal opinion, I think a relationship will be successful if a woman loves you as opposed to, I'm sorry, respects you more than she loves you. And as a woman, we just can't respect a simp. Like someone who puts me above his every need, someone who's just always there checking in and it's always my way and whatever I say goes. There's no way we're going to There's no way you're gonna respect that, all right? And if a woman does not respect you, no matter how much she says she loves you, that relationship is not gonna work out because she's gonna go out, she's gonna find somebody else, she's gonna either cheat on you, take you for everything you have. So simping doesn't work. If you are a simp in America and you to get your passport and you go to Brazil and you're a simp, you're gonna get the same results because women do not like feminine energy men. We want assertive, masculine men who stand on their opinion, they stand on their grind, on their purpose, and does not fold because his woman feels any certain kind of way. I hope that answered the question, I think.
Oh yeah, that's a very precise answer, and I think it dovetails with something that you said last time. You said, "Hey, you were like, hey, I don't want this to come across the wrong way, but you should not listen in quotes to your woman." And we're intelligent people here, so we know what that means, right?
Most
So it doesn't
definitely.
mean you don't listen. It means that those things which are always wavering in the wind, where today is like this and tomorrow is like that, and she wants this and she wants that. Like, look, that's not
Mm-hmm.
you don't pay attention to that crap. For some people, it just comes naturally, in the sense that like we don't listen to anybody, anyways. All right, but for other people, they have to learn. Okay, they have to learn this thing. So, Doctor Thunder, what do you have to say about the simping? Okay, is indeed simping the original sin? Was Adam the first simp out there, taking the apple, listening to his Eve, and then blaming God for giving her the woman? Just like, for example, these passport bros, they go out there, and I'm a passport bro of a particular kind, right? So it's not like, I want to, I can handle any kind of criticism. But the point is this: they go out there with the same behavior, the same internal set of conditions, the same kind of simp mindset. They get burned, and now they're like, "Oh, women are horrible." And it's like, dude, you were supposed to be a man. You were supposed to go there and do your man-ish, right? Not thinking that you're gonna go be a simp somewhere and then they're gonna accept you. But anyways, Dr. Thunder, it's your turn to talk about the whole simping thing.
Yeah. The thing is, and thanks, Ike, for referencing. It was one of my Thunder's Thoughts episodes. Was Adam the first simp? And the conclusion that we reached was yes, he was. Yes, Adam was the first simp. And I think within all of us, we have this tendency to prioritize pleasure over purpose, and that's the sort of sinful nature that we all sort of dealt. Um, that's my definition of simping, by the way, prioritizing pleasure over purpose. Men are supposed to be all about the long game. They're supposed to be able to put off, temporary, pleasure for the sake of what's coming down the road. And you need a man to be able to do that because you need to be a woman wants to be able to depend on stability. She needs to be able to, when she's pregnant and she can't do it herself, she needs to know that you're going to be there and that things are set up in such a way and that those things have been considered. Right. But if all you're doing is just running around chasing women, and then you'll say anything and do anything to get any kind of, any kind of play, it's just bad. It just doesn't work. And I do want to say about my wife. One thing that made my wife different than the women that I dealt with prior is she was actually serious about her. She's a Christian. We're Christians. She was actually serious about her Christianity. So those sort of places in the Bible where it asks you to self-reflect in, are you acting or behaving in this way or not? And she was actually working on that stuff. And so for me to do things positive for her, even to shower affection, it wasn't simping because she actually valued what it was that I was doing. Part of what the part of the simping thing is that there's a tendency to give people that don't deserve it that attention, and I think people inherently know when they don't deserve something, and it makes it hard for them to receive it. So they would rather go with someone that treats them the way that they actually deserve to be treated, rather than to be treated better than they deserve. And so the tendency is for it to scare, to run women off. That was my issue in the past. I've got a series of videos on my YouTube channel called Blue Pill Testimonials. There's 10 of them. And, so I've done a lot of simping, for all have simped, and fallen short. So, yeah, I mean, the simping thing is that's not a black or white issue. Mm-hmm. That's just like that's a man issue. And until we stop doing that, we're always going to have the same sorts of issues. You have to be willing to walk away. If you're not willing to walk away, you're never going to get what you want.
All right, Solo, what you got to say about this simping?
Yeah, bear with me one second. You know what I'm saying? Okay, here I am. I mean, you guys are stealing all the talking points to the point that I can't really say anything. But as the originator of the Simp Tales series, right? Simping is a mindset from the point where you, as the man, think that the woman is above you, right? And when you look at it, and you're simping, trying to, first of all, simping is like it dries the coochie up like the Sahara Desert for women, right? I mean, unless you're Drake, you can't really get away with that. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the reality. And of course, then on the flip side, you have men, as you said, Ike, who they then, they have these set of standards when it comes to black women, but then non-black women, they may do some simping. And let's be honest, everybody does a little bit of soft shoe simping here and there. You have to, in a sense of, nobody's alpha all the time. I don't care how red pill MGTOW you are. If you're going to make love to a woman, you're probably going to be doing some pillow talking afterwards, unless you're Ramil. You know what I'm saying? Ramil just
thank you for putting me in there, because I ain't no pillow talk, ain't nothing. This dick ain't gonna get the fuck home. You know what I mean? I'm just Ramil. Thank you.
But I look at it. The reality is when you look at it, where I know guys personally who these guys are in shape. They make really great money, and they could easily find a quality woman outside of their race, but they have this simp mindset where they feel they have to be with a black woman, and then they end up with some hood booger type trash. And you're looking at it like, what are you doing? Like, you're a highly educated guy, master's degree, making six figures. why are you dealing with, Wanda from the block? Like, what's going on? And so it's ingrained in the mindset in a lot of guys. And I understand. Look, you want to be with black women. Black women are my preference too. You know what I'm saying? But when you start to lower your standards because of simping, right? That's something we don't talk about a lot. But a lot of men who simp, they tend to lower their standards because they think that they're going to find fulfillment from said woman, and all they end up finding then is misery. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Mike Fletcher with the $20 super chat. He says, Clark, you need to let your boy Ike Marine kicking loose in Europe. Hashtag kill passport Pookie. All right. So
100%.
I'm swinging it back to you, bro.
100%. And we're about that point where we're probably going to swing it around one more time. But I wanted to say a couple of things about the whole simping thing and why it is a man issue, right? Why we don't say women are simping. Okay, it's basic. We've all heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? In Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the bottom is, what do you want when you're out there naked in the wilderness? You need food, clothing, shelter. You need kind of safety and warmth, and you need to eat. Okay, you need to kind of create a border around you from the elements and from those enemies, whether they be tigers or other human beings that want to kill you. What's a man's job? A man's job is to handle the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. A man's job is to handle protection and provision. The point about protection and provision is it doesn't give a crap what you feel, right? A good man, therefore, is someone that doesn't give a crap about anybody's feelings, generally speaking. Doesn't mean you have to be a brute. That's why Solo was making a point about, look, there's something about being a gentleman, right? There's such a thing as being a sophisticated human being where you know how to push and pull things. In other words, you're a human being, okay? Still, right? You're not a baboon. In other words, human beings, whether or not whatever we're doing, even though it's a brute force type thing, we have our own ways of doing the kind of diplomacy and so on and so forth. So let me repeat. Why is it a big sin for a man to be a simp? Because what a man is supposed to do is he's supposed to handle the external world. Okay? Whether you're hunting or you're guarding the gates from the enemies, protection, provision, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the bottom part of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, whichever way you can stick it in your head to remember what you're here for, that crap doesn't give a damn about your feelings, and that crap is very hierarchical. If you don't fall in line and follow what Sergeant Slaughter says, in the trenches, you're gonna die. It's not time for arguing and about your feelings and equality and the decision by committee. All that stuff is bullshit. And the minute you start taking that crap from a woman, right, then she's gonna end up disrespecting you, kicking you up the curve, being unhappy, and then blaming your ass for it. That's what it is all about, because you're no use. You're absolutely useless if you're not able to handle that bottom part of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's basically what it's about. All that other airy-fairy stuff about floating in the sky and so on and so forth, that's later on, okay? Not everybody's a philosopher king, and not everybody can get there anyways. But anyways, let me speak about something else, and then I'm going to ask something for us to round it up with. When it comes to how you check a man and his particular ways of misbehaving. Man has upper body strength. Okay, he can go about and commit violence. What does woman have? Well, a woman just won't shut the F up, right? She wants to go ahead and emotionally abuse everybody and psychologically abuse everybody. So the way you check a man's sins is different from the way you check a woman's sins. Men's sins are checked by police, prisons. It's very physical. It's very external. It's almost like their sexual organs, right? A man's sexual organ is external. His violence is external. A woman, it's all internal stuff. How do you check a woman? You check her with culture, okay? And when the culture is broken, you're dealing with unchecked animals. And I don't care. I'm not blaming the individuals now. I'm not blaming the individuals, notice, right? I'm saying that if you have a culture that is broken, or whether it be a system of religions or social pressures that just say, hey, it's all free, everybody is free to roam, what you're dealing with is like if tomorrow the sheriff department disappears, okay, and there's no law and order. What happens is what you see in war-torn countries. The same men, your neighbors, right? The neighbors, the people, for example, the Hutus and Tutsis that slaughtered each other, right? Or was it the Hutus that killed the Tutsis? Like, it was like a span of a few weeks, 2 million people were killed with machetes. Or was it about 1 million people? Who did the killing? It was your neighbor. The point is, when you remove the chains from people, you're going to get what you get. Okay. What are the chains that bind emotional and psychological abuse that women do? Because they're not going to beat you up. That's not their thing. That's not their sin. Okay. Those things have been removed, and therefore you're getting what you get. Okay. So two things I've said. I've said lower hierarchy of needs, Maslow, and external needs, the external world. You got to deal with the external world, and the external world does not give a F about your stupid feelings. That's why, as a man, stoicism should be your number one philosophy. And all the rest of shit is crap, in my opinion. And then secondly, simple. Why are women kind of doing what they do? It's because there is no warden. Okay, there is no warden anymore. They're gone. Okay, and now they're gonna kill you with their BS because no one is checking them, and that's what human beings do. Unchecked animals are gonna do what unchecked animals do. If you take away the warden from men too, guess what? People will be slaughtering people in the street, and the equivalent is going on right now in the West when it comes to these kinds of psychological and so on and so forth thing. And I can do whatever I want. It's 2021. I can do this, that, and the other, and so on and so forth. But anyways, starting with Xanatos, and we go for the last round here, Xanatos, Ramil, and Chantel, Dr. Thunder, and then Solo. Let's go ahead and ask this question. Is it the case that it's just a matter of, let me use an analogy. Let me paint a landscape. The landscape is what I started with before, which is basically you have a situation whereby you're in some piece of land, okay? And you're a hunter, and there is game there, and there is some fruit. And then things start to dwindle. The animals are getting sick, right? And it's like, hey, you know what? It's time for me to leave. And this is how our ancestors did survive, right? Again, this is about divesting. This is not really expanding your options, let's say, right? So is it the case that it's more, hey, the animals are getting sick, things are just getting really, really bad? Or is it just the case that people now are free to say, you know what, I don't like antelope from the Serengeti. I want to go over there to Eastern Europe to check out, a little bit. Maybe I want to go to the Americas and check out some bison, right? So what percentage would you put, and how does this interplay in terms of people just being free to make their choices versus people saying, no, the market here is bad? Again, is it the case that the apples are rotten, or you just prefer European apples? And then we kind of go around with that.
All right, so back to the tied into the topic of black men dating out. What is the percentage or the ratio of men who are dating out because of better options or a lack thereof versus those who just want to just because they want to? Honestly, at this point, I would say those would probably be the top two reasons. But as far as the percentage, I can't specify specifically what the percentages of men are dating out because they prefer European or Asian apples or Latin apples or whatever, versus those who date out because they prefer African or African diaspora apples, but the apples for the most part are rotten. As far as the reasons why, I mean, look, we can look into each scenario and see why these men are choosing to date out. Let's go, for instance, those who prefer non-BWs, right? Some of them might do it because of preference, because of looks. Some of people might do it because they were programmed to do so via American media. And some might prefer to just go out, even if they have no problems doing with American BWs or whatever. They don't think that the market's bad. Some of them actually, no, I take that back. Some of them might end up going out because, and this actually ties in mostly to the other explanation of the current market or the current crop, as we'll call it, being rotten or less than satisfactory. Maybe these guys grew up in households, environments, or communities where they were told their skin color was a defect, or a defect, I should say. And because of that, they, whether subconsciously or consciously, usually clamor towards lighter skinned women or outright non-black women. Now, going to the opposite explanation of, okay, I prefer BWs, but they don't prefer me. They prefer swag over substance. There's that word again. Where's that statement again? these guys, in my opinion, are definitely more justified in opening their options when it comes to dating outside the race, because there are three things that men can do. Going back to Ike's explanation on influencing or tell how show basically trying to get the women to change or trying to get the women to like you or respect you. Either you can become useful, become desirable, or become tyrants. And granted, a lot of guys these days have no interest in becoming any of those three things. So, as far as I'm concerned, if you aren't trying to do either one of those three things, then there's not much to talk about. But as far as that's concerned, just on the macro scale of things, we can't really be tyrants in Western society. So that takes care of that. So you have two more options. As far as being useful, yeah, we can all be useful, but we wouldn't be that guy who is only respected because we're useful, we're handyman, cleanup man, beta male providers. So there's that. And then desirability, which we all know how subjective that is, like that's especially in the community. So with that being said, overall, I can't say the percentages of men who are dating out or seeking to date out because of their preference of non-BWs or even non-American BWs versus those who are dating out because the current market is unsalvageable. But we have to admit that their reasons should be taken into consideration by those in the community for those who actually want to preserve the so-called ADOS culture.
All right, all right, all right. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Very well put and rounded up there. Ramil, we know you like the blackberries, but do you think that the crop of blackberries these days is kind of the quality is getting low? That's why these people are going out there, or is it more of a question of hey, people just want to try other kinds of berries? What you got to say to wrap things up, sir?
Oh no, the quality is definitely trash. There's no doubt about it. They're only good for one thing. Well, two things: the mouth and the pussy. Because anything outside of that, you're gonna get tied up into a whirlwind of nonsense expectations, unrealistic expectations, messed up behavior, and that's why I got my purpose for them. And I think that did drive a lot of men to go try other races because of the lack of understanding of men and even trying to understand men at all. That's why you got this whole phenomenon going on right now. I agree with what you said, Ike. It's the inmates running the prison right now. There is no checks and balances. So no, I'm definitely agreeing with that. I think as far as the show, I think black men should date who they want, but don't be trying to go date outside if you know you got issues you got to fix yourself. Because sometimes what I don't like to see is how black men say, okay, I'm going to date out. That's going to fix my problems with women. No, if you got a lot of times the problems with women is something that's wrong with you. You know what I mean? But a lot of guys don't want to hear that. They say, "Oh, you're this, you're that." Nah, man. Sometimes I seen you niggas. All right, y'all don't read.
Seeing you niggas.
You don't try to better yourselves at all. You don't try to level. You think somebody should just accept your average self. Like you're average, you're gonna get an average person. Like you know what I mean? So that's the thing I don't like. But all in all, man, good show. And yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, all right, all right. Chantel, you use your channel to help women, right? So you have a unique perspective on this in the sense that number one, you are a woman, and then number two, you have gone to the point where you saw the need for having a channel such as yours. So what do you think about the quality of the crop these days, and what are the prospects? What's the prognosis? What's the diagnosis?
I think I would say that humans are wired to be tribal. From the beginning of time, we want to stick with our tribe, but we want to stick with our own. So for a man to desire to date outside, I would say it's more of not having quality to choose from within his tribe. So looking to go outside. I do want to stress though, and I see that in the manosphere, there's a lot of misconception when it comes to just getting your passport and go outside. The feminist movement is everywhere. And the same women with the entitlement mentality that you guys have here in America, they are there in other countries. So as Ramil said, work on yourself first and stand on your square. Make your decision to be the man that you decide to be, the masculine man that you decide to be, and don't necessarily date people just because they're not American or not, African American women, but date women who will acknowledge you as the head of the household and acknowledge you as the one who wears the pants and will respect you. But I don't think dating outside is the solution because, as I said, it's everywhere. Some of the most aggressive, masculine, combative women, overweight women that I know, they aren't American women. Majority of my friends are non-American, not only Jamaican, but immigrants everywhere, and they are some of the most combative, independent, I don't need no man for nothing kind of woman. So it's more than just, hey, let me date out so I can find women who will get on my page. That's not the issue. The issue is deciding, and as I said last week, even if that means that you die alone, but don't fall to these women and their standards and their expectations. A lot of these modern women want you to be the same simps that they know they don't respect. They're just looking for someone, and as you guys mentioned earlier, they're just looking for someone to walk over, just like how many of these Sims moms treated them and walk over them and treated them like they're not sugar honey iced tea.
Thank you very much. Dr. Thunder, sir, closing thoughts and remarks about everything that has been on the table so far, and also about the quality of the crop. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, and again, as I was saying before, it's not all black women that we're talking about. We're talking about disproportionately women that are under a certain income level, and disproportionately women that did not have that sort of relationship with their father, disproportionately so. So that's really the women that have most of these issues that are not desirable. Now, I think all women, because we're in the modern era, and because of the effect of feminism, I think all women, it's going to be challenging to have a sort of traditional style relationship. And I got lucky, that my woman, who is modern in some senses, but in all of the important ways, she's very much traditional. But but she also wasn't ran through. And
Ramil didn't get to her. I'm sorry. No.
Wait. She wasn't what, Dr. Thunder? I didn't hear
you. She wasn't ran through.
Oh, man.
And because of that, I think that allowed her to be able to hold on to more of what made her a good woman. I mean, just the whole kind of getting jaded by circumstances, situations, and everything else, and becoming sort of less soft, less feminine because of sort of being out there. I think that's a big issue. I think that's maybe one of the more damaging things that the feminist movement has done, is to convince women that they're the same as men. And although I don't think, I don't think that indiscriminately sleeping around is good for anyone, but it's particularly bad for women. They're not designed for that. Now, I did want to take this opportunity to promote a couple things real quick. So I was in the movie Miles Ahead with Don Cheadle, and this was in the movie was 2016, I think. And I've still been in touch with Don. Actually had some email correspondence with him within the last month. And I do plan to have him on my Conversations with Dr. Thunder interview series at some point. But one of the other musicians in that movie, JT Thigpen, who's a great bass player. I'm going to be interviewing him on Conversations with Dr. Thunder. I'll interview him tomorrow night. That means that the interview will be it will be premiering on my channel at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday. So that's pretty cool. Of course, I've got my show with Ike, Getting Ish Done with Ike and Dr. Thunder. That's on his channel. On Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then of course I'll have my Thunder's Thoughts program on Thursday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So those are a few things that are going on. I just recently interviewed BGS Ibmore, Minister Jap, Pocket Watching with JT, and I've got some others that are on deck. So we're going to keeping it interesting.
100%. Solo, Crypto Solo TV 84, Trendsetter 84. What else? The Snow Bunny Slayer of the Northeast. Take us out, sir.
So this is what I got to say. Final words is that it's unfortunate that we live in a culture where if you as a black man like anime, you're not considered black. If you like classical music, you're considered lame. If you know how to enunciate your words, you're trying to sound white. It's unfortunate that these type of characteristics that would make you actually normal in any other culture or situation take away supposedly from who you are supposed to be, right? And there are a lot of guys out here that they want a black woman. I understand, I get it. Like I said, and they may not like the traditional things that are considered traditional, like hip hop music, and they might not like fried chicken and beer. Who knows? Maybe they're vegan. You know what I'm saying? But the reality is, as a man, you have to do what's best for you in regards to going where you're celebrated and not tolerated. And more importantly, when you look at the current crop of women, where the city girls are looked at as heroes, and Blue Jasmine can go viral for telling men that even if the relationship ends, you still have to pay, and all this thoughtism, and Megan Thee Stallion is glorified. I mean, like Chronicles of Judah says, salute to him. We're in the age of Kali Ma, and it's unfortunate that everything is upside down. What's wrong now is considered right, and what's right is considered wrong. And so this is the time for men to really take a look at yourself, see where you're at in your life, and make sure that you have some positive foundations that are built on integrity, meaning that, you are going to deal with people that are going to help enrich your life instead of just to take away from it. And dealing with the wrong woman can be a lot of men's death fall. And I know that for a fact, because I've seen it. I've been through some of it myself. And, men, we just got to keep our heads up. That's really all I have to say. Shout out to Damon Wade. He says, shout out to Solo for this 100. Appreciate you, brother. Yeah. And also I want to say special thanks to Xanatos Clutch for coming on and doing the show with us here. He says liking anime in 2021 is way more acceptable now than it was 20 years ago, when most Gen Yers and millennials were in our formative years. Yeah. Now it's okay to like Dragon Ball Z, but Clutch, I think you would agree with me that the average sister would still consider you lame if she sees you watching Baki.
What is Baki?
It's a popular anime on Netflix.
Okay.
It's like trending right now on Netflix. Yeah, check it out. It's really good. Well, the first season was good, but then the last two seasons were trash.
All right.
because they're making black men look bad. But that's another topic for another day.
Uh-oh.
So is this anime or is this like anime inspired American crap?
Like it's like a manga type. It's Japanese. It's Japanese.
Oh, okay. So they're trying to make black men look bad over there. Oh man,
Yeah.
about the.
Yeah. It's still good. I think the first season was great, but the last 2 seasons have been lackluster. So I'm still listening. I'm still sticking to my Hero Academia and
Right.
Dragon Ball Z. look at Ramil. Ramil's like, all right, man. I'm out.
I don't got no problem. I used to watch Dragon Ball Z a long time ago. I just haven't. I don't know. I mean,
I'm just giving you jokes. All right. Ike, you have the well, you already have final words, right, Ike? Or
Yeah, I already think, sure. If you want to put it that way, I think that if I were to have,
want to play the Papa Dum song. Hey,
Pump and Dump
Dr.
is
Thunder,
you gotta play because you know what? That song got me a lot of haters, y'all. But if y'all want to play, y'all can.
Play the song, man. Let's
Yeah,
fight us out
it.
with that.
Y'all know me.
Do it.
Hey, I can't believe Drake took the dance, bro.
Yo, somebody told me that he did take it. I'm gonna just say it like that, dog. That nigga,
You know that for a fact?
I'm 80% sure from the contacts that I had but it is what it is.
Because I seen your video. Next thing I know, Drake is doing the dance too. Like a month
He
later.
didn't even wait, dog. He didn't even give it a couple months. A month later, the nigga is doing the joint, dog.
Wow.
It's all good, man. It's cool, man.
All right, guys. Well, listen. Make sure to follow these excellent panelists here. Their links will be in the description. Dr. Thunder, take us out. Here we go.
Y'all crazy, man.
We can't hear it, Dr. Thunder.
no audio. You gotta reshare with the audio. You know how that goes. The clickety click.
You know what I'm saying? Pump it up. Look at her meal that. Anyway, we don't. I don't know. I don't want to get a copyright, right? Ramil might copyright.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, probably.
I don't know. I think the beat might. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, you might.
All right, man. That's too much. We're out.